Elden Ring is finally here, and it's definitely not without its launch bugs and performance issues both on PC and console, but I really wanted to see how playable was it on the Shadow PC, so let's go ahead and get into it. What's up, cloud gamers, and welcome back to the Cloud Gaming Extreme channel, your destination for all things cloud gaming. And Elden Ring is here, and I've been testing it a lot on local PC and consoles and running into a lot of performance issues, so I was really curious to get in on Shadow PC and see how the game's running here. As we go over and take a look at the settings, we'll be at 1440p, even though we'll talk about 1080 as well. And for our settings, we're going to start off with high and motion blur off. We'll have motion blur off for the whole video and probably depth of field later. High's not the recommended setting, but it's just a place we're going to start because really no matter what setting or resolution you pick, you're going to have trouble running the game even though it is technically playable. So as we get into the game here, I'll talk a little bit about some of the performance issues that we're having and where I think those are coming into play when it comes to Shadow. And we'll also take a look at low and medium settings and a little bit at 1080p, but like I said, really just about no matter what you do with your settings, you're kind of going to be stuck between that 28 and 40 FPS when it comes to Shadow here on Elden Ring, and there's a lot of things that can have to do with that. When we take a look at the graphics though on high, things are really clean. At least we have really nice shadows and lighting, and you'll see a huge difference when we go down to low and medium as to what happens with these shadows and effects. But running around here at 1440p, you can see these dips, 24, 25 now. This is just the starting area of the game, and things will change as you get in deeper, but my problem is the more we get into the open world and the more wooded areas and fights and things you get into, I'm concerned that the performance could really dip even more on Shadow. And really this is coming down to the CPU, the RAM speed, and the disk drive itself, I do believe, because as far as the GPU goes, we should be able to run this at 60 FPS. Let's go ahead and get in here and change some of our settings around because I do want to show you some different examples as we're running around this area. We're going to go ahead and switch over from our high down to low just to make the biggest, most dramatic change here. We'll restart the game and get back in at these settings, or at least go back to the main menu here as you have to do to apply these. And then I'll show you what this looks like as far as our frame rate and graphics on low. So here we are at 1440p, lowest settings we can possibly go. Motion blur and depth of field are turned off. And this is when we get the interesting, weird shadows that dance around with everything. Sometimes we get some really weird things happening with trees if that happens to show up here. But yeah, you don't gain much in your frame rate for dropping everything down as low as you can get it. You get some really funky graphics things happen, and this is not just for Shadow. This is on my local PC or whatever. My laptop, if I drop things down to low or even medium, I get the dancing shadows and a ton of pop-in and other issues. And like I said, sometimes the trees just literally start dancing. It's weird. But yeah, you don't gain a lot for what happens here to your gameplay experience, and you'll still get big dips even down into the 20s at certain areas. And again, like I said, I believe a lot of this with the CPU, the RAM, the disk drive. It's just between all of that, we're just not pushing things and getting the GPU what it needs fast enough to get the frames out. Our frame times are all over the place as well, and it's just not a great experience. So let's go ahead and get in. We're going to go ahead and make another change here. Now that you see what's going on with that, we'll just go ahead and bump up to medium, put us in between where we were. We'll turn off motion blur again here, and we'll go ahead and get back into the game and take a look at what medium is doing compared to low here. Okay, so we've got our 1440p medium here, and you'll still get a lot of the dancy shadows and the different pop-ins. It will be a little bit less, and some of your other lighting and effects and whatnot will be a little better, but it's still not great when compared to high, but it might be a decent spot for some of the frame rate because, like I mentioned, the more you push the GPU, the better. So higher resolution, higher graphics settings that are GPU, not CPU intensive, will actually help your situation here. And that's something else you can play with individual settings and not just presets. So as we get up here on our little hill, still at our 1440p medium, and this is really where things kind of tank in performance as well in this area, but I want to go ahead and change this over to 1080p because I've talked about this, and I was just talking about more resolution is better when we are as bound as we are here on the other hardware. So we'll go ahead and move things over to 1080p, and you won't see much of a difference. At first, it might kind of seem like it, but we're going to experience all the same problems. And what really happens here is we're putting less stress on the GPU, which is already not having to work due to the setup here, and putting more stress on the rest of the system, hence CPU, RAM, and so forth. So we really don't gain much here, and you'll see huge frame rate drops here in 1080p, just like you do in 1440. 24 FPS, you won't get any better performance. So if you're looking to say, well, maybe I can drop the resolution down, this isn't one of those situations. We're not GPU bound, so things like resolution and GPU intensive settings aren't going to help you out at all here. You really need to focus on your CPU intensive settings to try to help things out. Now back here at our 1440p medium, this is probably the sweet spot where I would try to play the game. I'm really not happy with the performance of low. High is doable, but I would probably want to go in and tweak down some of the CPU intensive settings if I was going with high. I think for the ease, just 1440p medium would get you in there and play an Elden Ring on Shadow Boost here. So that's pretty much where it sets. This game has its own performance issues that hopefully will get straightened out and help systems like this as well. But right now it can be a little bit rough to run, even though technically the game's not that hard to run. So, all right, guys, thanks a lot for coming to check out the video as always. Don't forget to give a like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you know when new videos come out. Thanks a lot for coming to watch as always, and we'll see you guys in the next one.